I got a super chat from We of Little Faith. Voice 2 did nothing wrong. Yes, it did. You know it did. Shame on you, Voice 2. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, then you should join the Discord, because there was a whole pre-show that we had, and we talked about Voice 2 betrayed me. We'll just say that. Just another account. Episode 69's coming up. You making that one special at all? I don't know. I've been thinking about it. I've got a couple of good ideas. Seems, I don't know. I got some stuff up my sleeve. We'll see what happens. Song C. Voice 2 did nothing wrong. Yes, it did. You cannot get out of it by saying it didn't. You know it. You know it did. I saw another interesting question I'm going to answer in a second. Just another account. Voice 2 did nothing wrong. Yes, it did. Omega Riley. Voice 2 did nothing wrong. You're full of shit. Yes, it did. Thank you guys for the super chats. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Let me answer this question before I get into questions from a Potato and Wombat. It's my question reader. This one was from Lisa for Truth. I'm not defending Russia, but do you really consider Watchtower to be a religion? That's an interesting question. Yes, I do. I do consider them to be a religion. I know that technically there are two parts to this. There's the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, and then there's the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society printing company, basically. And then there's like a parent organization over both of them. So the governing body, when they were trying to get out of testifying in front of the Royal Commission, the Australian Royal Commission, when they were trying to get out of turning over names from a database and things like that, they split the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society and the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses in two, and they put all of the relevant data in Watchtower Bible and Tract Society's databases. And now the governing body is nothing more than a governing body over the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. That's it. They have zero control, quote unquote, over anything that happens with the Watchtower Society. I think the Watchtower Society has an official president that doesn't do anything at all, basically. The only thing he does is just act as a figurehead. Oh, and notice I use the pronoun he. That's because all leadership in Jehovah's Witnesses are he's. None of them are she's. Don't even get me started on that. Anyways, the governing body calls the shots for everybody, ultimately, really, for both organizations. It was just a ploy that they had, that they tried to set up to protect themselves, and it didn't even work. The judge saw right through it and was like, I don't even give a shit. You're turning the data over, whether you like it or not. Ultimately, they didn't have to turn the data over that they were court-ordered to because they settled out of court. That's neither here nor there. The point is that the Watchtower Society may specifically just be a printing company, but the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses is a big part of the Watchtower Society, whether it likes it or not, and it is a religion. There is a religious veil that goes over the entire thing. A lot of people ask if Scientology is a religion or not, or is it a psychology cult? Because actually it is a psychology cult. And people didn't want to classify it as a religion for a long time. In fact, I don't think it should be classified as a religion, honestly. It's not. The only reason that it has that religious qualifier is for tax purposes. They went through this whole coup against the IRS where they sued a bunch of IRS agents and caused all kinds of problems for the government, until the government agreed to basically give them tax-exempt status as a religious organization. And they did. So it was all really for tax purposes in the end, but they kind of embraced the religion aspect of it, I guess you could say. So Jehovah's Witnesses, yes, it's a religion. Scientology, I would say probably not, no. We of Little Faith just gave me another super chat. Holy hell, I appreciate that so much. Well done, Discord gang. We successfully hijacked the super chat. You did indeed. Omega Riley again. I got a little extra cash burning a hole in my pocket, so I figured I could pass it on. We should do a poll for the Podcast 69 celebration. Love you, Telltale. Yes, definitely. Do a poll for the Podcast 69 celebration, and we'll see if maybe we can do something fun for it. We of Little Faith. The Discord conspired to make Telly say silly words, so here we go. Snizzle, mizzle, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, ping pong, lippy tappy, toota. There you go. I said it. Here's my contribution to the Get Alpha Force Zero, a new inflatable alien fund. Thank you. Actually, it was $5 that I had to spend for her to put it into a machine and lose it, so There you go. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hilarious idea for a short story. A Jehovah's Witness gets turned into a vampire. That is a good short story. I bet that would be a good short story. Somebody should write that. And then, what's your Hogwarts house? Wait a minute. I know this. Wait. There's Ravenclaw, Slytherin. What are they? Hang on. Then there's Hufflepuff. Gryffindor. I'm Gryffindor. That's my house. I'm Gryffindor. I understand that we're the intelligent, loyal, best house. I've never read the books, but I understand Gryffindor is the best and that Ravenclaw is the worst. I'm just kidding. My girlfriend's Ravenclaw. She can probably hear me in the other room right now. Ravenclaw is second best. Gryffindor is best. I understand that Hufflepuff is full of idiots. That's just what I've heard. Forgive me if that's wrong. I heard that they're idiots. And I also heard that Slytherin is third best. Hufflepuff is fourth. So there's your answer.
First up's coming from Trigor. Okay, I'm a newly made deist, and I'm living in a Catholic Hindu home. I want to move towards deistic principles, but for some reason I still feel a faint connection with Hinduism. Is it normal to feel faint connections after recently leaving a religion?
That's interesting. That sounds like a really complicated situation you've found yourself in. When I left Jehovah's Witnesses, there was a lot that I had to come to terms with. I had to reassess every part of everything. I think it really depends on like how cult-like your previous religion is, quote unquote. I don't want to say cult-like necessarily, but a lot of the times cults will try to program what's called a new personality into you. That's kind of the defining factor of a cult, in my opinion, or one of them at the very least. Does it try to program a new personality into you? And Jehovah's Witnesses openly say that they do. So when I left Jehovah's Witnesses, I had to question just literally everything about myself, just everything. I had to question my views on evolution, on homosexuality, all of it. Because they built that shit in deep. It is there to stay in some cases. It's really, really difficult to wade my way through the programming that they instilled into me over the years. So yeah, it does not surprise me to hear that you are trying to get past some of the aspects of a religion that you were a part of before. Honestly, Jehovah's Witnesses told me my entire life that every other religion was a lie. It was BS. It was made up. There's nothing true about it. And so I saw every religion except for Jehovah's Witnesses as BS. So when I realized that they were full of shit too, I just defaulted to not believing anything. Until somebody brings something to the table like solid evidence, I'm just not buying it. I just don't buy it. You know, I don't actively believe that there is no God out there, that there's no deity that created everything. I just don't buy it. It's possible. Show me some evidence, some strong evidence, because this is a really big claim you're making. You're going to have to come with some really big evidence for me to believe it. But bring it, and I will take a look at it, and if it's convincing enough, I'll believe it. Simple as that.
This one coming from Omega Riley. How is Alpha Force Zero doing?
Alpha Force Zero is actually doing pretty well. She went to a birthday party earlier, and she was actually really upset because she lost this big blow-up alien thing that she had. Like, she couldn't find it, basically. And, yeah, she's pretty upset over that. But otherwise, she's doing pretty well. She was really miffed at me, too. Like, she wanted more money to try to win another, and so I gave her more money, and then she didn't win it. And she's like, I need more. And I was like, this is like gambling. I'm not doing this. I'm sorry, I just can't. Like, I have a limited supply of money. I can't give you like $10,000 to stand here and do this, you know? So anyway, she's okay. She's doing well. She's just a little upset by that earlier.
This last one from All That Jazz 93. How do Jehovah's Witnesses feel about secular music? I know you've mentioned listening to Creed and Tool and some others when you were a kid. Was that actually allowed? For that matter, how do JWs feel about more mainstream Christian music that's popular among evangelicals? The kind of stuff that's played on radio stations like K-Love and Air One.
Good question. It's interesting that you mentioned Creed in your question, as mainstream secular music. It is not secular at all. Oh my god. It turns out, I didn't realize this before, but Creed is super religious. Like, holy shit. Go read some of the lyrics to their music. They're like mega religious band. I did listen to Creed though, and I listened to Tool. I didn't realize Creed was religious. My parents didn't realize. If they had, they would have just freaked out. But they were okay with soft rock, my parents were generally. And maybe a little bit of harder rock. Not metal. They were not okay with metal. They were okay with me listening to Sublime, for example, because they didn't actually know what was in the songs. They didn't sit there and listen to the whole album to see if it was bad or not. But I listened to Sublime. I listened to Tool. If they had known what Tool said in their songs, they would have banned that outright. Listened to some Creed and things like that. And I mentioned this on Twitter, but eventually when I kind of got out on my own and started forming my own personality a little bit, I wasn't quite out of the religion yet. I was still a part of it, still believed it, but I was kind of doing my own thing and going a little bit rebellious maybe. I knew Jehovah's Witnesses didn't like heavy metal, so I went through a list of the heaviest heavy metal there is, and I got my hands on the albums and I turned them on repeat just so that I would get used to that sound and like the sound and try to develop a taste for that type of music because I knew that it was against the rules and I wanted to feel a little bit rebellious. I was probably 16 or 17. That included like Pantera, Metallica, Megadeth. I also listened to a lot of Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, some Nirvana, but Nirvana was really, really mainstream. It was a little bit more mainstream than I was comfortable with, but honestly, all of those people were mainstream. Anyways, that's basically how it happened for me. My musical choices were my musical choices. My parents tried to dictate what I could listen to, but they really had no control over it. Godsmack, I didn't listen to them a whole lot. A couple of songs, but that was most definitely band music. If you like what I do and you want to make sure I can continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, you can support me on Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. I'm trying to make a shirt design for every cult I've covered. I haven't gotten every one, but I'm working on it. So check it out and see if your cult is up there. Second, you can support me by checking out my game shop. I sell controller, cartridge, and game box stands for every system from the original Nintendo and Sega Game Gear to the Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. So give that a look too. And finally, if you want to support me in some way other than monetarily, you can check out my other YouTube channels. I have a retro game channel where I answer questions like, why does Shy Guy have a mask? And why are CRT TVs the best way to play retro games? I also have the podcast where I talk about stuff I don't feel I can say on a monetized channel. And finally, I have my main channel where I talk about cults. I wish I didn't have to worry about dancing around subjects carefully in the first place, but I chose to do this as a full-time job, so unfortunately I rely on YouTube's AdSense and on the support of patrons to continue doing the work I do. Anyways, check me out in all those places if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, guys.